right into it.
Just in case.
The only announcement I would ask people, if they could spare some donation money in the donation jar, the tacos were a little pricey, but they were very popular, everybody seemed to like them.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I liked them.
Yeah, very good.
All right.
Good choice.
Here's taco too.
That's right.
And these are North Carolina style tacos.
Let's see.
Just started raining.
Cool.
Tacos, Gary, they're heading to Mount Carmel, far south.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, there's an idea.
Yeah, hit the corner of it, just a little bit over there.
I don't know if any of the tacos are still there, but there's
Try to
change.
get a couple.
And there's chips, there's chips and queso.
Yeah, so by the time you took off, stuff around, you start coming down.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no rain until I got around
Yeah.
here to this corner.
Yeah. Start coming. Good stuff.
You'll get you some birthday cake anyway. Yeah. You know it's over here.
You guys can all see that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
You
good.
wanna pull that close?
The screen where it is.
Yeah. Plates on-
No, it's okay.
Movie screen over there.
I'm okay with a little light.
It's okay, George.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to close all the way.
It just opens it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No,
good.
no, no.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't move.
That's fine.
That's fine. Alright, well, I'm gonna put on my hat. This is part of the official uniform, I guess, that we wore. I was actually chastised for not wearing it once out there. With a hat. Okay.
Can you use the mic, please?
You want the mic?
Some of this,
I didn't think we needed
Some
it.
of us are old.
This one, this one. Just this?
Perfect.
Alright. I talk on a microphone for a living, but I always don't like talking like this. Alright, so I assume it's a high percentage, but show of hands, how many people have been to Sun and Fun? At least once. Okay, so almost everybody. I'm ashamed to admit I've actually never been to Oshkosh yet. So I haven't put in yet. I'd like to go there as a pilot first before I go there as a controller. I've been to Sun and Fun 7 times. I lived in Florida for 9 years, so it was easy to go to. And this is the first time I've gone as a controller. For anyone who doesn't know me, most people know me here. I'm Ricky Brown. I'm a controller at Asheville Tower. Controller 14 years. I have a RB14 kit in my garage. It's hard to say that I'm actually building it anymore, but back to aspirational builder. I have the input. I have the vertical stabilizer done. That's it. So I just have a quick video clip here. Oh, and surprisingly enough, the FAA frowned upon us taking videos while we're right next to all the traffic. So I don't actually have a whole lot of self-recorded video, but this is one of them while I was on my 5-minute break. So I think, yeah, this is the end right here, but I just panned to show the lineup. It's 2 rows deep for quite a while. There's probably 100 aircraft waiting to depart. but at the time we had a bunch of arrivals waiting to get in, so we actually used both runways. And I just thought it was pretty cool because you can see the base turns at the same time. You get those straight ends, like right, let's see, right here, right? So we've got runways 28 left and 28 right. This will be easier. Right, so he's on 28 left, and this aircraft is turning base to final on 28 right, and they're all doing super tight bases. And you can see you got your final out there. And all these guys have been waiting, some of them over an hour to depart for delays. Yeah, it's pretty rough.
What time of day was it?
I think like 2 o'clock, something like that. But so for this presentation, I'm not giving you any safety tips or anything like that. It's just all my experience. So nothing I'm saying is that important. You know, it's just story time. So if you got any questions, just shout them out. And I've got plenty of time at the end for questions and answers. Let's see here. Okay, so how did I get to Sun and Fun? There's a kind of a bidding process, I guess. And first of all, this is our group picture. There's about 60 of us that go down there. Supervisors, management above them, a bunch of controllers. Most people from the southern region, typically where they hire from. And this is an Amazon aircraft. It was kind of controversial that we took this photo in front of Amazon because they interrupted Sun and Fun quite a bit. So we edited that out. Let's see. Okay, so timeline. So last year, October 10th is when I had to submit the application. It's just a simple online form. January 5th was a selection announcement. I didn't do anything. I just filled out a form and thought I'd never hear from it again, essentially. But then January 5th came, I got an email saying, hey, you've been selected, congrats, can you get off work? And for a lot of people that answer is no. For me, it happened to be yes. So we have and it's official travel too. So they put us up from the FAA. They put us up in the hotel. They pay for our travel. We get per diem, all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. So we travel down there. We get 1 day of training, and then we go straight into Sun and Fun. And so the whole time leading up to this, I'm like, how the heck is this going to work? I have no idea what I'm doing. And in 1 day, we're going to work all these airplanes in the Sun and Fun. And every time I asked that question, they just said, just show up and you'll figure it out as you go. Okay? So selections, I kind of mentioned this, but this works the same as Oshkosh for their region. But the way they pick is if everyone bids from the southern region, all those people are going to go first. So if they still have leftover slots, then they look at the rest of the eastern service area. So you get the eastern region and the New England region. If they still need slots, then they'll look for people in the central service area, and the western service area doesn't get it in at all. So for Oshkosh, it would be the same. They would look at the Great Lakes region first, and then start looking out from there. So being in the southern region had some preference there, for sure. Qualifications, you have to be a current controller, have to have a current medical, and you can't be in training. So there are some professional controllers who happen to have transferred and they've been certified somewhere else, but if you're still in training, you're not eligible. And for me, I happen to work in the office most of the time now, 40 to 60 hours a week. And so I only actually control traffic about 8 hours a month at this point to maintain my currency, but it's still current and I got to go. I didn't tell many people there I was doing that. So bidding, we actually, based on seniority, we bid our teams that we wanted to work on. So this was kind of funny to me because they announced bidding and maybe 3 weeks go by and I haven't heard anything. And so I texted the guy running this, like, hey, just so I'm clear, like, you guys aren't waiting on me for anything, right? Like, no, you're the lowest seniority, you're gonna get what you get. And so that was the first time I figured out I was actually the lowest seniority person at all of Sun and Fun. So, but it worked out great because I'm Brown, Team 7, and I happen to be working with our team lead, Adam Helm, who I met previously, and we've crossed paths at Fort Myers when I worked traffic down there. So I probably would have picked his team anyway. It worked out pretty good. Okay, schedule. For anyone curious about this, when I first got this, I'm like, what the, like, this looks complex as hell. We only got 1 day off for the whole week. So we traveled on the Saturday, we got the training on Sunday, and then we worked Monday through Sunday with 1 day off in there, and then traveled back on Monday. What a lot of people don't realize is we're not just on the tower, we have 4 different positions that they assign us to. And that's the first time I really realized that here. So we've got tower, the lake, place called Flyby, and departure, and I'll get into what those mean. But basically, this is just to show you they actually figured this out in advance. And we happened to get 3 7 a.m. shifts to end the week, which meant we had plenty of time afterwards to enjoy the show. Yeah, it was early. Okay. So this is my team, Team 7. I'm in the back. Let me back up here. Oh, I should explain something else here. So I'm a rookie. I'm on the bottom line. So rookie is your first year, obviously. Limiteds are 1 through, or you have at least 2 to 3 years of experience. So if you're on your 4th year or later, you're classified as a veteran, and then they have a team lead who also has to be a veteran. And then each team also has a supervisor, but they're just kind of part of the team. There's a lot of cases where the supervisor is way less experienced than the team leads. So it's kind of a weird, I guess, dichotomy of what I'm used to at work, where the supervisors dictate everything. At this event, the team lead, who's typically a controller, dictates everything, and they're the ones, or the supervisors sometimes will be deferring to the team leads, which is just unusual. That's what happened here. We had 2 veterans who had way more experience than our supervisor, and he was kind of just one of us at that point. That Van Deur, I got some video or some audio of him later. The guy was hilarious. He works at Charlotte. We had 2 people from Charlotte, myself, and let's see, one guy from Pensacola, and the other one was from Fort Myers. Okay, yeah, so then there's our team. I'm in the back. Christian in the front on the ground. That guy's hilarious. And we got Sean, the supervisor, in the middle, so you can see he's not taking this as seriously as they would here at Asheville. Big swag package. They really like their orange everything. I mean, it is their color. Let's see. Okay, so positions. I mentioned they have 4. There's 3 shown on here. So the tower's in the tower. That's exactly where you would think it would be. Departure. It's not loading every time. Okay, so departure. This is assuming we're on runway 10 left and right. They've got these stations where that circle is, and I'll get into that a little bit. Flyby is at the intersection of the main runway 10 left and 523. So I'll get into those a little bit more. And then your last position is at the lake. So this is kind of a distance graph here. You can't see it, but it's about 8 miles northeast of Lakeland Airport. So you got Lake Parker, Lakeland, and then we're in a little fire tower training facility for firefighters at the lake there. I'll get some pictures of that.
Oh, that's for the seaplane arrivals?
No, that's what I thought too at the time. That's for all the arrivals coming into Lakeland. They're basically a feeder position, making sure everyone is lined up, essentially. They're feeding the tower, so the tower's not doing the sequencing. They're making sure everyone's doing the arrival procedure appropriately. Okay, so we're going to talk about departure first. So again, this is just zoomed in. The white circle is where we're set up. During the day, typically the departure owns 10 right, the fat runway as we called it. It's really unique here though, because the tower can take the runway back at any time. So, or we can do kind of look and go. And what they would do If you have a warbird arrival, which came on their own side, on the south side of the airport, the tower would call departure and point them out to us. I'll get a picture of that in a second. And so we would just have to note where that landing aircraft is, but we're not actually talking to them. We're talking just to the departures that are all lined up, the 100 departures that are waiting for a while, and we're just launching them as fast as we can. We're watching this arrival come in, just with our eyes, essentially, and just time it based on that. You can see, so the orange and green dots, that's the typical landing runway, 10 left, normally taxiway alpha. And I've got that white line. It's a temporary displaced threshold. So it's 1,500 feet between the white line and the green dot, and another 1,500 feet between those two dots. So typically, like at Asheville, if I got two Cessnas landing, they can both be on the runway, but I need 3,000 feet between them. At Sun and Fun, they have that. I only need 1,500 feet. And even the director of the region is there saying 1,500 feet, ish. You just keep them going, essentially. It's absolutely hilarious to see these upper management people saying these rules are kind of in effect. All right, so this is what the departure spot looks like. We call them the gators. Where is? There we go. It's an acronym, like everything in the FAA, the Ground Air Traffic Operational Remote Station. It's just these trailers, a little upright or raised so we can see a little better. But they have this kind of jerry-rigged console, I guess, with some radios in it. It actually does help. And so here's a little bit zoomed in on that console. So two people are working up on the gator. On the left side is the person actually talking. On the right is the coordinator, usually the team lead or the supervisor. They're coordinating with the tower. So the tower is telling them any arrivals that are going to use the fat runway, or if they're taking the runway back, or Amazon was the only Part 121 arrival or air carrier, I guess, using the airport. So anytime they came in, we had to revert back to normal rules, which means we couldn't use the parallel runways. It went back to a taxiway, and we couldn't be in the runway safety area. So every time Amazon came in, we had to hold all arrivals to Sun and Fun, and then we had to move all our trucks and ourselves outside of the safety area. So every time they came in, it was about a 20-minute delay for the entire air show. And of course, being Amazon, they didn't adjust their schedule. We adjusted our schedule to them. So everyone's pointing here. There we go. So when the tower would call us with an arrival, because we're not responding to them, we have radios. We can hear what they're saying, but we're not responding to them on the radio to say that, to acknowledge it. So we actually physically would point to the aircraft that they're talking about, and so the team leads and the supervisors for departure would look at their own team and make sure everyone's pointing, just so it's like a situational awareness type thing. And it just shows them that, okay, you got that one in sight. We're departing, reference that guy. Once you don't think you're going to have your runway separation, you stop departures, let them land, and then line up and keep going. And if you didn't point, somebody would, rib you. Okay, that's us looking very serious. I think that's it for departure. So departure was pretty simple, really. It's just, knowing your aircraft types. You're going to give a little bit more space between departures if you have some light sport depart followed by P-51, for instance, right? But we're not really giving headings. The phraseology we said was just fly straight out for 3 miles before proceeding on course. Do not overfly Lake Barker, and that's it. And you just launch and launch and launch and letting them figure it out, essentially, after 3 miles. Okay, so the tower, this is what everyone thinks we're doing. This is the most serious spot. Ton of positions in here. We're showing up. Yep. Okay. So we actually have ground control. There are no movement areas, so it's more of an advisory function. But it does turn into a movement area when Amazon comes in. So I get to say taxi ramp V Alpha, and then we're done. But it is pretty funny because, like at Asheville, right, it takes weeks, months, years to certify. Here, being my first year, I plugged in the ground. I had somebody with me for 5 minutes, and they said, "Okay, you're good," and then I was on my own. Pretty bizarre. So LC is a local control warbird, so local control south at Sun and Fun. They control the warbird arrivals. They come in from the south. They get their own arrival. Basically, they call you just like a class Delta would, right? So you call up, say, 6 south, full stop, right? You tell them to report midfield right downwind, runway 10 right, and they would do that. And so local control warbird, they're controlling the big runway. They're the ones who are going to tell the coordinator in the tower that they have an arrival, and then the coordinator is going to call departure to point out that arrival, and then that's when you point, you do all that deal. Local control north, that's the one that's talking constantly. They're the ones, turn left, keep rolling, green dot, land on the orange dot or arrow, keep it going, turn right, just constantly talking. What's interesting about that is everyone thinks that that position is doing all the ATC. They're really just talking. Everyone else in the tower is shouting out commands, and you're just listening and regurgitating basically the person talking the loudest. So you've got these spotters. So if I start with the downwind spotter, so they're looking directly to the north where the procedure's coming in. So they're going to spot, high wing Cessna, white and green Cessna, whatever. So they'll just shout out. They'll see it. White and green Cessna, start your descent, turn downwind. And then the LC North, the communicator, they're going to hear that. They're not looking. So without looking to even see the aircraft, they'll just repeat that. White and green Cessna, start your downwind, start your descent. The base spotter is just looking out his own window. So they're looking at the downwind where you normally turn base. So they'll see this white and green Cessna will say, pop into view. And when they determine they got to turn base, they'll yell it out, white and green Cessna, turn base. And then the communicator, LC North, will just shout that out, white and green Cessna, turn base. They're not actually looking at any of these aircraft the whole time. All they're doing is looking out their one window, which is basically kind of like a dogleg, base to final. And they're talking to them as they go there. Your ground controller and LC Warbird are looking at the rollout. They'll yell out, white and green Cessna, keep rolling. And then LC North just repeats that. So it's constantly just shouting in the tower, and you're listening to what seems most important. And then your other job is to kill dead air, essentially. Like, there's so many aircraft, and it's so fast that keeping control of the frequency is paramount. That's the technique, basically. You don't let pilots talk, so you can keep control of that frequency. Because if you start letting other people interject, you're gonna lose your base turns pretty quick. And with hundreds and hundreds of aircraft coming in, as soon as your downwind gets out to 2 miles, you're screwed. So that's kind of the technique why you just keep talking. Perfectly safe. Okay, so that's the tower in a nutshell. Oh, let me play a clip for you. I cherry picked my very best ATC clip while I was there working tower. And again, like, I've never done this before, and I just plug in and they tell me what to say and I say it, and I just make stuff up. It was so bizarre. Let's see where it is. Tower clip me.
How long are these ships?
TV, turn right, runway.
We work probably 2 or 3 hours before somebody else would get us, rotating around within those. So within those 2 and 3 hours, you would get, 10-minute breaks maybe here and there, and then another group would relieve us for 2 hours, and we'd wander around, whatever, come back and finish our shift. So it wasn't super demanding, but while you're actually working, it can be for sure. So here's me.
2-3, welcome to Sun Fun. Cherokee, start your base. Cherokee, start your base and your descent. Jack, nice job. Runway 10 left, cleared the land on or after the orange dot. High-speed taxi auto to the end. Cherokee, keep that turn coming directly to the green dot. Cherokee, keep turning, aim directly at the green dot. Cherokee, keep aiming for the green dot. Aim for the green dot, orange dot or later, cleared to land. High-speed taxi all the way to the end. Keep going, all the way to the end, all the way to the end.
You're just like ushering
Cherokee,
them
land
constantly.
after or on the orange dot, on or after the orange dot. Nice job, thanks. Welcome to the show, everybody. Cherokee on the runway, nice job. Where'd you fly from today?
Miami, no fear.
Excellent, excellent. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming. High-speed taxi all the way to the end, right turn at the end, and have a good one. Twin Beach, enter the right downwind runway 10 right, report 3 miles south. Here, start your base. Blowing on the downwind, start your base and your descent. Blowing, nice job, keep the turn going all the way to the green dot, orange dot, clear to land. Orange dot or later, clear to land. That's runway 10 left, skinny runway, clear to land. Orange dot or later. Blowing, keep that turn coming. Blowing, nice job, aim directly at the green dot, orange dot, runway 10 left, skinny runway, clear to land. Nice work, welcome to Centerphone. Orange dot or later, high-speed taxi all the way to the end, great job, great work, welcome to the show. Blowing, start your downwind. High wing, start your downwind and your descent. Cheers, keep going to the end, and have a good day. Nice work, thanks, see ya. Blue and white, high wing, start your base. High wing, keep turning, wrap right around the tower, runway 10 left, orange dot or later, clear to land. Keep it turning, high wing. Low wing, start your downwind. High wing over the runway, nice job. It'll be high-speed taxi to the end, orange dot or later. Low wing, start your base. Low wing, keep the turn coming, aim directly at the green dot. Keep the turn coming. Cessna on the runway, keep going all the way to the end, high-speed taxi all the way to the end. Have a good day. Welcome to Centerfund.
Okay, so that was exciting. I'm super nervous when I'm doing it.
Rick, you were never that nice.
Well,
Just saying.
so that was something that was really fun about this is they encourage you to be nice and schmooze the pilots was the term they used. Schmooze them, Ricky. I was hearing all the time. You couldn't really hear it as well in this clip, but there's some clips I had where you can hear the shouting in the background just constantly. Every time I keyed up, you could hear it sounded like 50 people in a busy restaurant or something, and it was crazy. But it's just constant. So you're just making stuff up to try and fill the air, and if you're not giving instructions, you're trying to just constantly talk. If there's not actually aircraft, then you're repeating basically the procedure, like what you want them to do. So, left turn directly over the golf course, fly directly over the cake tower, over the V-shaped building, tight left downwind runway 10 left, clear to land, something like that. All right. So that was fun. And I realized when I was going through these audio clips, I had been on position for, it was 40 minutes, and it felt like 5 at the time, It felt like I'd barely been on there and they kicked me off. And I realized it had been, time warped. Where are we? Here we go. Okay, so that was tower. All right, so now we're at the lake. This was actually the most fun position. You're away from all the upper management. There's only one, what we call operational manager there with us. But this is where, there's no eyes on you. You're on your own up in this fire tower. So, and they actually had fire training activities going on there at the time. So we were in a mood and we would cheer them on and everything. It was pretty funny. That awning we got up there was a welcome addition as well. It never actually got too hot down there, but those 90-degree days in Florida, that would have been highly appreciated. So positions here, on the right, it's not showing up, but he's the communicator. When it's not that busy, he can make all the decisions, and our spotters, all they're really doing is using the binoculars and picking out what types of aircraft they are. So we're looking in the distance, you can see that smokestack. So on the procedure, all the aircraft are supposed to fly directly over that smokestack, and we're constantly reminding pilots to do that. And they're flying almost directly over us, slightly to the left. So that's kind of the general area we're always looking, but we're also looking everywhere else to see if anyone's out of position. Or occasionally you get departures from Lakeland who would cut straight across the lake in front of, right through the entire arrival. So you're looking out for stuff like that, issuing standard traffic calls. But so if it's not that busy, as spotters, all we're doing is pointing out the aircraft like Commander, Cessna, RV, whatever. And then the communicator will just make all the decisions there based on the type. But when it gets busy, same with the tower, the spotters are just belting out commands and the communicator is just repeating them essentially. And so we got 5 in our crew and we would just shuffle around positions here. As the rookie, I got to do everything as the rookie. Typically I had somebody with me, except for ground. And out of frame is the coordinator. They actually had an ADSB feed there in our little cab, I guess. And that actually was really helpful, right? So if we're trying to call out, yellow and white RV with the wig bags and they're not responding, that guy had an ADSB, and if they had it on, right, you could look and try and call out the call signs. But typically we stuck with the aircraft types and colors, that kind of thing. T-tail Bonanza, V-tail Bonanza, anything you could pick out.
And the pilots didn't have to acknowledge any of those instructions?
No, they weren't supposed to unless you asked them to.
Yeah.
So you would ask them a question sometimes and pause, and then they would, over, and then they would answer. Other times we asked them to rock their wings, that kind of thing. But most of the time when it got busy, you were just saying stuff. If they didn't respond, you just said it again. And sometimes we would get it wrong, right? Like we would think something's a commander, but it's, something else. And we would realize that once they got closer, right, they would come into focus, like, or you just get more general. You keep saying the same thing, and they're not doing what you want. So then you just go to something general, high wing to win. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, and then that works. You're just trying stuff. And in the frame here in the front, we have a bunch of cheat sheets because, like I said, we got 1 day of training. It was more of a refresher, I guess, for people who have already been there, because that's got all the frequencies on it. It's got the NOTAM procedure, all that stuff. And as the communicator, anytime there's dead air, you're trying to fill it by, they call it the human ATIS. We would just go over the procedure over and over and over and over again until we saw somebody over the smokestack, and then we would reach out to them and put them on the procedure. So we had a whole script. It changed a little bit depending on the wind, right? So there was a procedure we laid out. The guy at the ADSB would be watching the arrival, and maybe it wasn't working quite like what we wanted, or the tower wanted something else. We would adjust it. So I think on the procedure, it wanted us to go between the cake tower and the I forget the other water towers, but it wanted us to go between these 2 water towers. And so we adjusted that to say, okay, we want you directly over the golf course and directly over the cake tower. But that's different than what the NOTAM says, so we'd have to repeat that constantly, because all the pilots, they got that in front of them, they probably hear us once say it, and then they're cross-checking, like, wait a minute, he said this, and the NOTAM says this, and so we just say that over and over and over again to try and get the results we want. And it's super loose, like, unless somebody causes complete chaos and shuts down Sun and Fun, we're just trying to get everyone in as best we can. There's no time to chastise anyone, essentially. Like we had a guy, like I said, go straight through the arrival. All you do is call in traffic, like it's not really disrupting anything. You just deal with it and then keep moving on. So that was interesting too, right? Like at Asheville, the smallest thing happens and we're filling out all kinds of paperwork. The district calls us, and all of a sudden 20 people are calling us from outside the facility. Come on. Okay, I think it was just a picture of us. That's me while I'm on the radio, and oblivious that they're taking a picture, apparently. So this is the arrival this year. I think it changed a little bit from previous years. I've never actually flown in the Sun and Fun, I've just visited. But, it's got a whole description. But we would just constantly repeat, okay, if you're inbound to Lakeland, proceed direct Fantasy of Flight. From Fantasy of Flight, fly southbound to the racetrack. From the racetrack, proceed to the north side of Lake Parker over the smokestack. We want you directly over the smokestack. Then fly westbound, join I-26. I-4 southwestbound, turn left directly over the golf course, then directly over the cake tower, look for the V-shaped building and are close and left downwind, runway 10 left, the skinny runway, orange and green dots. Once you're south of the freeway, the monitor tower, whatever the frequency was, 133 point something. And you can see the hold in here too. So the strategy was, if we're open, they just fly the procedure. If we're closed, like if Amazon's flying in or the air show's going on, we would try and load up our hold as much as we can. So if it was a short hold, we could hold over Lake Parker, where the red lines are right here. So these aircraft are coming in on this procedure. We pick them up over the lake. So the smokestack's right here, and then we're right here, so we can see. They're only a couple miles away. So we pick them up. See red and white Cessna over the smokestack. Rocket their wings. They rocket their wings. Hey, we're in holding right now. It should be just a couple minutes. We need to make a left 360 around Lake Parker. And then they just keep doing that. And we acknowledge them every time. Hey, it looks great. Keep doing that. Or, hey, you're getting a little too far north on your turns. Just keep it a little further south. Super general terms. Once that fills up, then we break them out of that hold and then join this bigger hold. And you just keep doing that till that fills up. And when I mean fill up, I mean they're like really getting each other up. You start getting pilots on the frequency saying like, hey, you need to speed up. When they start taking over the frequency is when it's starting to get a little full. Plus we have the guy with the ADSB, he's watching that too. And he'll actually shout at you saying, okay, all pilots inbound to Lakeland, you need to stay north, fantasy of flight. So we would make some announcement to that effect, because everyone inbound on the arrival should be monitoring us. So we would tell them, okay, nobody, if you're not on the procedure already in the hold, stay north of fantasy of flight. And so you get a bunch of aircraft doing their own thing out here, and meanwhile this whole hold is full. So say Amazon clears the runway, we open things back up. We tell everyone, well actually we generally don't make a general announcement because everyone starts coming in at that point. So once these aircraft come over the tower or the stack, we pick them up and we say, okay, we're open, join the procedure. And then we just keep doing that until that starts to thin out. And then we make another general announcement saying, okay, we've got enough aircraft out of the hold, you can go back to fantasy of flight and start the procedure. So then we start bringing people in. There were some cases, right, we need everyone nose to tail a mile in trail, and that was the main thing we were dealing with. Also, we had twins and high performance aircraft. They had different altitudes. I think it's 1,200 feet and 100 knots was the main one. If you couldn't go as slow as 100 knots, you could do 1,700 feet and 150 knots, and then twins would be at 2,200 feet. So you have three altitudes to work with. And occasionally they get over the stack, three on top of each other. And so you'd have to pick, you have to figure out pretty quickly what might work there. And if it wasn't going to work, if you already had a whole fleet of amphibs going, doing their best to go 80 knots, you might have to send that twin back to the start. And so that happened pretty often. Not like every time, but often enough where you have to say, okay, just do it again, we'll pick you back up. And that's kind of the way we worked
What
it.
do you do if somebody calls bingo fuel?
I guess it depends. So if there's room to fit them in, then we bring them in. We actually had that a few times where we gave them the alternates. So there's a few airports in the area that we told them about, okay, we can't get you in right now, or no promises, whatever. Here's your airports, say intentions, kind of thing. That's usually what would happen at that point, because they're usually holding for a while at that point. And if they're way out of position, you got to tell them, go get fuel and come back, basically. But we were gracious about it. All right, I think I beat that up. I did this. Sunrise. So there's our smokestack that we're looking for aircraft right over the top. This, okay. So this is what the arrival looks like when it's full. So here's your lake. Here's Lakeland. This is Fantasy Flight here, and we had an overflow fix. We call it middle of nowhere because there's no landmark associated with it, just a it's a VFR waypoint essentially. So we'd say proceed to middle of nowhere to join the procedure. So you get all these aircraft up here trying to figure out where that is, which, looks like they did a pretty good job. So they fly down to Fantasy Flight, and then that's basically what your procedure looks like. Right over that smokestack, looks like they're doing pretty good there. And then they hit right on top of us and join I-4 southwestbound. I mean, that looks awesome. And I've got one when we're holding. All right, so it's the same procedure. Fantasy Flight's right about here, and they're just doing a big lap each time. And we're talking to these every time they come through. It's like, hey, you been here before? Yeah, it's my 5th time. Oh, well, welcome. Keep doing it. Okay, so that was the lake. I've got another clip for you. It's a 5-minute clip, but I've got Christian at his best, and it's just a bunch of cuts of some ridiculous stuff he would say. I got a video. There we go.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sun and Fun Lake Parker VFR arrival procedure. It's slightly different than last year. Head all the way out to Fantasy Flight. Keep your head on a swivel out there. People are coming in from all different directions. From there, Sun Track Race Course, which is southwest of Fantasy Flight. From there, you're going to pick a spot about a mile east of the smokestack that's on the north side of Lake Parker. I want you to overfly the smokestack. Completely overfly it. I don't want anybody to the south of it. I don't want people to the north. Everybody raise their hand if you're excited to go to the show. I really want everybody to start slowing down. If you got retracts, get the gears down, get everybody dirty, get your flaps down, speed brakes, open the canopy, hang your feet out, whatever you got to do, slow it down. Stand for it. Wow, hope you have enough gas because I know that was a long haul flight for you. Just a smidge past that smoke tower. Just go a smidge past it. Easy up, just a smidge. I don't know if you can slow a smidge. A lot of people are just a smidge to the south. A little bit smidge to the south. Too many smidges right and left. We need right over the top. Excellent, beautiful airplane. Aircraft coming up on the power plant stack with all the lights on. Rock your wings. Beautiful. Let's go 10 degrees to the right. Saratoga, beautiful. Make sure those gear are down and locked for us. Turbine Duke, beautiful. Let's go 10 degrees or to the right. Okay, I see up there. Okay, beautiful. Sorry, second last. Thank you. Excellent. 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 I'm sure you've been listening to my spiel. Excellent. Beautiful airplane. You guys can do your gaggle thing. Come on, Amazon. I'm not saying you said it, but you said it. Funny. I'm sorry, it's all my wife's packages. They're getting delivered here instead. I can see a landing line out there, way east of the smokestack. I can't tell the aircraft type at this point. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your favorite color? A36, just coming up on the smokestack. And coming from east to via the way of Scotland. Scotland? I know, right? Braveheart. I was just in Edinburgh a week ago. No joke. That's amazing. You go to Greyfriars Balby, the pub? It was absolutely beautiful. Took my kids, went up to the Highlands. Absolutely stunning. Went to the cave of Kair Banoff. Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. You need to adopt someone. You can adopt me, take me again. If only there was a lake where you could land. Every 15 minutes, I'll tell everybody it's a couple more minutes. Looks like we got 2 on the northeast corner on the of the lake. What's a lack? What did I say that for? Am I right on the Seneca? Thank you so much. Well done. That's fantastic. Well done. Fantastic. Did you see Toronto? Yes, sir. Well, fantastic. Welcome. Guys, you're doing a great job. We've not forgotten about you. Where'd you guys come from? Glen Rapids, Georgia. Fantastic. Welcome. Yeah, thanks. Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn. Yep. I've heard there's no sleep till Brooklyn. Is that correct? Affirmative. Kansas City!
This is in real time.
Kansas City, but I brought barbecue for us. Yep, we got it. I heard the tower buys beers and making us hold so long. Yeah, you gotta call the tower on that one. We're just little old lake employees. I'm a broke pilot. Daughter never heard of Kansas City until Taylor Swift. Who's my twin up high coming over the stacks? Widgeon. Widgeon, it's your moment. Are you ready? I'm ready. Here it comes. Continue on the approach. Everybody, thank you
This
so
guy
much
had to
for your
come and go
help. We
3
do
times
appreciate it.
because of
Welcome to
fuel.
Sun and Fun and have a magical week. Have a magical weekend here at beautiful Sun and Fun 50th anniversary, and welcome to the show. Welcome to Sun and Fun. Have a magical weekend. Follow that procedure, and welcome to the show. Of course, Azure southbound off of I-4, towers 135.225. Hang up the mic, listen for instructions, be ready to go. Make sure your gear is down and locked or down and welded. That will be dependent on your manufacturer type.
Hey, controller, you're making this thing fun, man.
That is my goal.
And safe, thank you.
Absolutely. Again, we love being here. This is my last year. I retire after this, so it's been a great honor to do this.
Congrats.
You just made his day.
That's it. So that's Christian. He was pretty fun to work with. Also the most experienced in our group, so he was with me the most as well. All right, so kind of like what I was talking about, you're just filling time, especially when we're in a hold. You got plenty of time to just talk to pilots. Every time one comes through, like, hey, where are you coming from? And what was funny was it didn't matter what they said. It was just awesome. You know, you're just making stuff up. Fort Lauderdale, like, oh, that's amazing. You know. Okay, so flyby is the 4th position. This is actually my favorite. You actually didn't talk to airplanes at all here, which doesn't make any sense. This is when you got to be the trope of an air traffic controller with the wands, right? We're out there on the movement areas with the wands, and what we're doing is controlling this intersection. So runway crossings, and if any warbirds, say, land on 10 right, we're motioning for them to get off on runway 523, or the tower would sometimes call us on our frequency. They could say, flyby tower, flyby. They'd say, okay, this next arrival, the Archetti needs to turn left to go to the FBO. Okay, because normally we're just ushering them down the runway. We want everyone to go as fast as they can to the very end. So they would tell us if they needed to actually turn off early to go to warbird parking or to the FBO. So the FBO in this case would be up, be a left turn. So we can hear that, and then we're going to flag them to that side. And so we have 4 positions here, 2 runways, right? So we have, you know, we're basically the hold short markings, right? So there's real hold short markings, but then there's us. And so we'd be ushering everyone to get all the way up to the runway edge instead of your hold short line. And then this is the most bizarre thing of the entire show to me. So say at Asheville, if I want to do a runway crossing, we have a memory aid. So there's like this plastic bar I've got to hold that says runway crossing. I've got to call local control on the recorded line, and there's phraseology for it. Local, ground, local, cross runway 35 at Alpha 4, cross runway 35 at Alpha 4, and then you tell the pilot, cross runway 35 at Alpha 4, and then they got to read back right. Here, it's literally look and go. So I'm not even on the radio. I'm listening, but I'm not transmitting. I'm not talking to the pilots whatsoever. All I've got is my wand, and I'm looking. So I'm listening to hear for any arrivals coming in, and I'm looking left and right, and I'm literally just, all right, go cross the runway. It was totally bizarre, and that included us personally as well. So if we needed a bathroom break, there's only one porta potty there, and it might be on the other side of the runway. We would physically just run across the runway with all those arrivals coming in. You just like, okay, I think I can meet that gap. Sprint across the runway. It was so bizarre. But the most fun thing about this was being so close to all these aircraft. So this is 2/3 of the way down the runway about. So any jets, everyone taking off is going to be just airborne at that point. So you got these fighter jets just screaming by you, just off the deck. And I'm on the runway edge line. It was fantastic.
That's why the orange.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we were so visible. I actually got that question quite a bit over the week when we were at the, wandering around the show. Like, why do you have to wear all this orange if you're just on the tower? Like, well, all right, let's see. Okay, here's us again, doing flyby. a little hard to see, but we've got these cool waist straps, and we've got two radios on both sides. One is to talk to our tower, to coordinate. The other is the frequency that that the tower is using for the arrival, so we can hear them clearing aircraft to land or take off. And so we have both of those in our headsets. It's mostly just a monitoring situation. We actually came up with a code word in case an aircraft was crossing the runway, but the person on the other side of the runway was facing away from them. Because we're not telling them on the frequency to cross the runway, we're just waving them across. So there's a case where you might not be looking, because we're looking both ways. So for us, the code word was armadillo, and we would just key up on the main frequency and just spell or yell out armadillo, and it actually worked. I wish I got a clip of that. So this is why it was so cool, right? F-35 landing in this case, but you can go all the way up to the edge line. I mean, he could be on that white line if he wanted. He's giving them a little bit of a buffer, but that's what you did the entire day right there. It was fantastic. I mean, you're just sitting there. I don't know where else could you do that other than maybe a aircraft carrier flight deck or something. Not on the FAA anyway.
Ricky, can you go to presentation?
I'm about done here. This is it actually. So that's it for presentation stuff. I do have some, I guess, anecdote stories, right? There's plenty of times where aircraft lined up for the wrong runway. We had one he was in Nordo, and for whatever reason turned the wrong downwind. So now we have an opposite direction Nordo landing at Sun and Fun. They figured it out. We actually would have rather they landed, but they figured it out the last second, went around. So now we have a go around opposite direction, and they're still not talking to anybody. They ended up figuring it out, went all the way back to the arrival and did it again, but that was interesting. Probably the closest call I had there, or that I was involved in, we were working departure, and the tower called us that this Marchetti flight was coming in to land, and we do the point thing, and we see them, and I think we were doing a turnaround or something. Basically, we thought they were starting their overhead, but they were actually done with the overhead and landing, and then we put an aircraft out in position. And so we're not actually talking to that Marchetti, so the tower actually has to see this and send them around. So it's a little bit of a delay there, but that ended up working out fine. But that was probably the closest call I saw that where we screwed something up essentially. I mentioned the departure that went right through our arrival. Oh, I personally got to send Amazon around, so we had a heavy 767 in a traffic pattern, right traffic to 10 right. Of course, so we already have to wait 20 minutes for him to come in, taxi off the runway and everything, get everyone back in. So if he goes around, you just extended that another 10 to 15 minutes. And that was because I think we had a truck in the runway safety area, so they couldn't get everything out in time. Oh, the grass excursion, yeah. So on flyby, so I'm like this guy right next to the runway, and you got all these aircraft landing. This tail wheel lands, and he's all over the place, so we're watching. Like, what the heck? He ends up losing it. He doesn't ground loop, but he goes off the runway, into the grass, goes around the taxiway. The guy on the other side of the runway is closer to him, and he's sprinting to get away from that. He gets back on the runway, and it's back in control. And once we realize we're not going to be run over, it's like, well, he's back on the runway. Just wave him down again. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And again, like at Astral, if you touch the grass, I got to fill out a form. Here, it's just like, oh, you're good. Okay, go. Keep the show going. And the cube formation, that's right. So when we were at the lake working the arrivals, I called it a cube because we had, everyone's supposed to be nose to tail, but at one point we had 4 sets of nose to tail, right? It was like literally the 4 points on a cube. And it's like, how the heck did you guys do that? Like, how you've been doing that for 20 miles, or I don't know when it happened, but everyone thinks that they're going to get in or something. So for us, we had to just pick some to peel off and go back to the beginning. But I just remember that being kind of interesting and trying to sequence that. That's 8 aircraft coming in, all in a cube essentially, and we had to ask them, "Are you guys in formation?" Negative. Okay. I mentioned the Widgeon also. This Widgeon came in, poor guy. He, the first time he came in, we were shut down for, I think, for a 5K. Had to go back, get fuel. Comes back again, and I forget the exact scenario now, but he had to hold, ran out of fuel again, had to go back. So the third time, the exact same thing was happening, and he was one lap from having to go back home. And then you heard the audio clip, Widgeon, it's your moment. Continue on the procedure. So everyone was cheering in the background. It was good times. I've got this one here. My mom never let me be humble, so I did actually win an award, Rookie of the Year. They gave me this cool backpack that I brought in. But yeah, it's like a vote thing. I don't know what I did to get it, but I got that. So
You didn't screw up.
yeah, not bad enough. But that's our whole team. Everyone involved. That was controllers, supervisors. It was actually amazing the amount of tiers of bureaucracy that we had there, right? We had controllers, we had supervisors, we had OMs, we had air traffic manager, and we had the assistant and the district manager there, all working this thing. So it was pretty impressive that everyone was just there to help out, essentially. So that's it for that. I can take any questions. I'm glad to talk about this because this is probably the coolest thing I've done in my career. I'm just thrilled to be there. I was super nervous when I went, but coming out of it, fantastic time. And as far as the training goes, they were right? You just show up and you got all these guys who have years of experience there, and all you're doing is shadowing them. And they're trying to build you up to come back in future years. And once you've been there for a few years, then you're the one teaching the next guy. So.
Are you a shoe-in for next year?
For the Rookie of the Year, I am, yeah. That's another part of it.
That was it. So you don't have to do the application process?
Correct, yeah. I can, if I want to go, I can just go.
Yeah.
Because I was low seniority, there's actually a good chance I wouldn't have been able to go next year. Because like any other applicant above me, they would kick me out, essentially. So, take mine. I can't stand hats.
Right.
Questions?
How would you compare the stress level of being at Asheville and having to just dot every T and I and cross every T and that whole thing versus all the just compression of that down there?
On a daily basis, I think any air traffic I think is more stressful because of all the rules and everyone's watching, that kind of thing.
Right.
Son of Fun was stressful, but just from a nervousness point of view, right? First time there, that kind of thing. But it's so loose. Like all you're expected to do is provide an orderly flow and keep them from hitting, basically. Whereas Asheville, still the goal at Asheville, but with all these other things,
Right.
So yeah, it wasn't terribly stressful, and especially with the team I had too, they were super encouraging the whole time. That's a big difference too, right? Everyone at Sun and Fun is there because they want to be there. They want to be around planes. So the atmosphere was totally different than just going to work, right? A lot of people at work that's literally just a job. They don't like flying. Surprising. There's a surprising amount who aren't actually in the airplanes who are controllers. So that was a breath of fresh air for sure.
Other than the grass excursion, did you have any incidents that you were concerned about?
Not really. I think that was the worst. Yeah, it really wasn't. Oh, we did have a dead stick landing. Yeah, so we had, I think it was a Zenith, but they were they went up to 8,500 feet, and they were still talking to departure. They're still on departure frequency. Lost their engine. I forget how far away they were, but it was perfect coming back. It was almost a non-event, so that worked out pretty well. So well, I forgot about it.
With things being so loose there, did you feel that the FAA would support you if something happened?
Oh yeah, because it has happened.
Okay.
So, and I think that's why I'm so surprised that all those higher levels of, like, the district manager is there, right? So if something does happen, he's the one kind of answering for it. And the fact that nothing's really changed, despite having, well, they have a pretty good safety record, but, you know, typically FAA is pretty reactive. So to see it as it is today is surprising and kind of awesome still. I'm really surprised they get away with some of that stuff still.
What about the quality of the pilots in doing what they're told to do, especially on departure?
Surprisingly good. I wish we had more of that here sometimes. I don't know what it is. Like, there's quite a few who, you know, it's clear they didn't actually read the procedure, but you're just coaching them in the whole time, right? You're giving a little extra attention. But for the most part, it was maybe 90%, 80%, something like that, doing exactly what you're wanting. And if they're not that far off where you can't deal with it. So, pretty impressive actually, how it all worked out.
Thank you. What was the total traffic count? Did you guys bean counters get involved?
Oh, I forget. It's big. A couple hundred an hour was the highest ones. I think like 200 an hour on a dual runway situation like that. It's pretty crazy. I didn't get any pictures of this, but the night departures were pretty cool too. So that's when we used both runways for departures, and we're launching 3 abreast. So we got 2 side by side staggered on the big runway, and then we have a single stream on the smaller runway, and you're just as fast as you can get them. You know, you look at the types too, make sure no one's going to run each other over, but for the most part, you're just as fast as you can talk to get them out of there. I mean, that line of aircraft was nuts, but it's super impressive, right? Looking up in the sky, and you got 3 rows of airplanes as far as you can see, just going straight out. And then, surprisingly, there's none of this going on, you know?
When you were on flyby, what was the most impressive aircraft that flew by?
Most impressive. I mean, it has to be the P-51. Like, it's always the P-51. That's super cool. All right, appreciate it, guys.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Complete intro.
Are you gonna say something?
Yeah. Thank you. Testing 1, 2, 3. Thank you all for coming. Happy birthday, Sid. Thank you, Ricky Brown, for a great presentation. And as you leave, please help us clean up, throw things in the trash, put the tables away, put the chairs away, all that kind of stuff. And thank you very much, and I hope we'll have another meeting in another month. Appreciate you all coming tonight. Thank you. Bye.
Cool.
Done a couple times.
Yep. I'm surprised at how organized it is. Like, I think the scariest part is that join up, right? Where it's just a free for all.
I remember the departure was really scary. So we had people all around us, and we had 4 people, and everybody was calling out traffic, different traffic, you know, above and just everywhere. Pretty scary.
Yeah, you're super close too. Like,
Yeah.
and if you're drifting at
You
all,
don't know these people, you know. You're like,
right? Nobody knows where anyone's. I don't know how it works.
I wouldn't want to do it again.
It's still a mystery.
Yeah, it works. I grew up in big cities, but so on a half an hour drive from there, and I went to a lot of kid, dad, and everything. It was more of a yard sale. Way back then.
Oh, really? That one.
Was that all on, doing all right?
Doing good.
Was that all on a volunteer basis, or was that, or you guys paid to do that?
We were paid.
Okay.
It was volunteer detail, right? But
Yeah.
we're still government sponsored.
Okay.
So I got per diem, I got travel paid, like everything.
Nice.
It's like the best there is.
I know most people that are all strictly volunteer. I know a lot of positions, but I figured what you guys do with your job, pretty much what you guys do has to be done. I mean, what everybody else can get away with, not really having to have a real knowledge of.
Right. I don't understand, like, I'm sure some fund has to pay something.
No, I know, Adam was itching the hanger behind me. He works, a whole week there. It's all volunteers and nothing paid. All thing they do for him is my golf club, right?
Said I'm cold, I'll carry something
He's got a
else.
little building that he works in with air conditioning. And he's got a golf cart garage, but other than that, he doesn't pay him.
Does it, doesn't it have a cover?
But I know a lot of
It's just a bag.
You're probably gonna have to move it.
Trash
Amazon keeps running, it's not gonna be feasible anymore. And when we were talking to the airport people, they're bumping the money coming in, right?
You don't need
So they're all
them.
about it. You know, we had all these new security things, you know, I had an F8 badge, I had a Southern badge, and I had an airport badge.
I'm
They all
just
wanted
gonna
to
go.
Did you get to hang around watching fireworks show Saturday night?
Yeah, actually, we had a banquet.
That was not a bad one.
That was cool.
Yeah.
We had a banquet that night, and we had like our own UTC. So they had like sign fun appreciation night for that, so we went to that. And then, Sunday night, we had our own awards thing. But, brewery. Must be fun. Ton of beer. Ton of beer at that thing, holy crap. And it's just looking fun.
You have so much beer that you didn't go get from me.
Yeah, I got back, I'm like, I'm actually looking forward to being without.
No beer?
Yeah, I mean, it was like seven
Water, huh?
straight
Pull the one
days.
off the, of the 210 off of your book.
I usually go about 2 days. I'll try to go Wednesday night, or Wednesday and stay for the night show, and I'll go again Saturday and stay for the night show.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't think I've ever gone more than a day at a time. Usually I get everything done.
Yeah, it gets 2 days pretty good. I've done 1 day. 2 days, I've got to get water, so I drive back and forth. So I'll fly leave now. My son's here. I like nothing around here.
I actually went a day early. I got from when I lived in Florida. Go down to Tampa, so they picked me up, we hung out. And I felt bad for my other friend, because he came out on Thursday when I was Thursday. That was my day off. It was nice to do. Packed up, flew out. You know, I got to go in early, but
My
he
dad bought
paid
that.
$20 for
When
parking.
I was.
Yeah.
To the store and he saw that and he and
That was cool. I'm actually, like, I go more. I'd be a little careful to be teaching somebody else, right? Like, use it. So I would hope that in a few years,
Like, yeah, a few years ago,
that's probably good.
Oh, geez, there's a
a lot more lax for you.